So It Chapter 2 is coming out in a few weeks, and I thought this would be as good a time as any to go ahead and review one of my favorite King adaptations of all time, It Chapter 1. I could probably do for a change of attire for this one. Yep, I'm doing this. It Chapter 1 is the adaptation of the insanely popular book by the master of horror himself, Stephen King. It follows a group of kids in a small New England town that are terrorized by a supernatural shape-shifting monster that takes the form of a demonic-looking clown. None of the adults in the town believe him when they tell him about the weird, crazy shit that's going on with this monster in the town, so they decide to take matters into their own hands and battle the beast. The book, It, that this movie is based on, is absolutely terrifying. The 1990s TV miniseries adaptation, while very faithful to the source material as far as what it showed on screen, wasn't really what I'd call scary. Now, Tim Curry as the character Pennywise in that miniseries was absolute nightmare fuel for anyone who grew up in the 90s. That motherfucker terrified a generation of kids, this kid included. So when they announced that they were making a new adaptation of It, the main question everyone was asking was, who's gonna play Pennywise? Who wants to follow the iconic portrayal from Tim Curry? Well, this guy. Bill Skarsgård. What? Yeah, and like many controversial casting choices throughout the history of film, at first, everybody was asking the filmmakers, what the hell are you thinking? But then the first trailer came out, and holy shit, we were all wrong. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise is absolutely, without a doubt, fucking terrifying. Like, more terrifying than this. Tim Curry did a fantastic job in the role back in 1990 and absolutely elevated that movie up from what it was. And it is kind of blasphemy to say that anybody did a better job at Pennywise than him, but let's be real here. Bill Skarsgård hit that shit out of the fucking park. Anybody who says that Tim Curry's Pennywise is scarier than Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise has lost their mind. This is one of the creepiest, scariest, and really genuinely terrifying portrayals of a character put to film. But unlike the original adaptation of It, Pennywise isn't alone in elevating this movie. No, everybody here does an absolutely fantastic job, especially the kids, and that's really saying something, because when it comes to kids in movies, we all know you really never know what you're gonna get. Like I've said before, you might end up with the next Haley Joel Osment, or you might get this.
Now this is pod racing.
Woo! Oh my god. What happened to that kid? Oh. Well, that makes sense. Anyway, all the kids here do a fantastic job. I mean, like, not just a great job for kids, but a great job for just actors in general. Most notably, Finn Wolfhard as Richie and Bill Lieberher. Bill. And while these two are the standouts, don't let that diminish the fantastic job that everybody else does. These kids act like real kids. And let's be real, kids, when they're not around parents, they're fucking R-rated, man. And that is something that this one totally gets a lot better than the 1990 miniseries. Now, I understand it was 1990 and it was a TV miniseries. There wasn't really a whole lot they could do there concerning, like, say, language and how kids act. There's only so much they're allowed to do on TV, especially in 1990. But here in Rated R Movie Land, all bets are off. This is a situation where that R rating absolutely adds something to the movie. It allows these kids to be realistic kids. And these are young kids cussing up a storm left and right. Why? Because that's what kids do. And if you don't think your kids do that when you're not around, well, good for you. It does lend a sense of realism to the overall experience, though. Something else that R rating allows this film is for it to not pull any punches when it comes to the violence. Now, this isn't just violence for violence sake. The original source material that this movie's based on was an extremely violent book. I mean, it wasn't like violent from beginning to end or anything, but when the violence happened, it is cranked up to 11. And in this movie, they do not shy away from that at all. Within the first 5 minutes of this movie, the movie lets you know as the viewer, all bets are off. Most people know what happens in that first few minutes of It. But for that small amount of people that aren't aware of what happens in the beginning of It, let's just say things get bloody. And not just bloody, but bloody involving a child. This is something that a lot of movies, especially in Hollywood, try and distance themselves from. It's rare that we see, at least on screen, violence to young children in movies. Typically when a young child's in a thriller or a horror movie, we know that that kid's fairly safe. Every now and then something might happen to him, but it's typically off screen or fairly uneventful. But not with it. Oh no! This movie shows it all in its violent glory. And admittedly, it is pretty jarring. I liken it to when I was a kid. The first time I saw something like this happen to a child on screen was 1986's The Blob. There's a part in that movie where two kids are running from the blob. And while, yeah, it's a really violent movie and it's a pretty tense scene, you pretty much the whole time feel like, you know, I'm not really that scared because, you know, they're kids. I know they're gonna get away. But no, there's a pretty violent death of one of those kids in that moment. And I remember as a kid, that really made me take pause. It kind of bothered me, like on a deep level, because, you know, when it came to movies, I knew that kids my age at the time were safe. But now all of a sudden, nope, you ain't safe no more. I think that's what it is gonna do for kids of this generation. Good for you. Fighting the good fight. Fucking up a whole new generation of kids. But like I said, the movie gets it out of the way real early. This is not your regular horror movie. Nobody's safe, and shit's gonna get real. And that brings me to the horror of the movie. There are a lot of movies that come out nowadays that proclaim themselves to be horror movies. And really, they're not really ever that scary. It's mostly just loud noises and things flying from off screen that scare the shit out of you. Jump scares. They're not really scary movies, they're more startling movies. Well, that's where it is different. There are a few times that things jump out in this movie, but they never seem like cheap jump scares. And the true horror from this movie doesn't come from all that bullshit. It comes from the overlying dread that permeates through this whole entire movie. This movie is filmed and executed in such a way that a lot of the time you just feel uncomfortable and unsafe, and there's this constant dread hanging over you. It's just an unease about it the whole time. And you take that home with you. That is true horror. When you get home after seeing this movie and don't really want to open the closet because you're afraid you're gonna see this, that is true horror. It is without a doubt a masterclass in horror filmmaking. I said in the beginning that this is one of the most faithful adaptations of Stephen King's work yet. And I stand by that comment. However, it's not faithful in the way that most people would think. It takes place in a completely different time period, and while some stuff from the book is picked out and put into the movie, there is a lot of things in this movie that aren't in the book, and vice versa. When I say it's the most faithful adaptation of King's work, I don't mean necessarily from page to screen carbon copy. If you want that, watch the original adaptation of Pet Sematary. That was an extremely faithful, as far as like a carbon copy from the page to the screen version of Stephen King's work. And while yeah, it was entertaining, like I said in my review of that movie, it was way too jumbled and just kind of felt like it was missing something. When I say best adaptation, I mean as far as the tone and feel of the work. And this movie absolutely has that same tone and feel from the original source material. The original 1990 miniseries was more of a page-to-screen faithful adaptation of the work, but it was missing that tone and feel throughout, which the 2017 adaptation absolutely nails. And that's what I've always said about adaptations. They don't have to be carbon copies of the original source material. But what they do need to do is retain the original feel and the spirit of the source material. Guys, at the end of the day, what else can I say about It Chapter 1 that hasn't already been said? It is a fantastic movie with fantastic performances that has a fantastic tone. And absolutely one of the best horror movies really ever made. Is it the best? I mean, I don't know. Ranking something as the best is kind of difficult for me, but it is definitely up there in that top 5 or 10. But seeing as how this is only half of the full story, I do wonder that after Chapter 2 comes out, how we'll feel about Chapter 1. Hopefully it upholds that great quality standard set by the first one. I guess we'll see in a few weeks. It Chapter 1 deserves all the praise that it gets. It's not only a fantastic horror film, but it's just a fantastic movie altogether. And in my opinion, It Chapter 1 is a unicorn. If you haven't seen this movie, check it out immediately. It is absolutely 100% recommended viewing. Don't watch this shit alone though, it's scary as hell. So there it is guys, my review of It Chapter 1. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a thumbs up. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And you'll float too. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.
You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
There are a few jump scares in this movie, and they're all really well done. But dude, that shit with the projector in the garage, oh my god, that scared the hell out of me. Don't act like I'm the only one. I look more like something from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, honestly. Ooh, I should review that.